when we first started doing branding years ago, I wasn't armed with the knowledge I have today. But I've kind of come up with a thesis based on some of the studies that I've talked to you guys about. The bottom line is about 50–60% of your budget, really at any size, should be spent on branding. Okay, so more than half of your advertising budget, your marketing budget, should be spent on top of the funnel stuff. Pure branding, billboards, TV, radio, sort of traditional branding plays. That long-term branding is so critical because it's, as that starts to take effect and you build that presence in the market, it makes the bottom of the funnel work that much better. It makes the AdWords work better. Your conversion rates go up. Your website conversion rate, your click-through rates go up.
The trust of your
the trust. And so the top of the funnel branding, marketing is so important. And the industry spends an inordinate amount of time, money, and energy in general talking about the bottom of the funnel. Social media, AdWords, right? Getting those clicks, getting those conversions, which is important. But the branding is extremely important. And it's a neglected part of the industry. A lot of companies underspend at the top of the funnel on that branding, and they focus all their money and attention at the bottom, and it's a bit of a treadmill, right? What's setting you apart, right? You're just churning through jobs, spending money on AdWords. You're not really building that brand that really brings value to your business in the long run. Yes, so there's some crossover. Like a lot of the digital we're doing now with display, YouTube pre-rolls, Facebook ads, there's a branding component to that. So it's not a hard line. If you're doing digital, that's activation, that's bottom of the funnel. No, there's branding components to that too, right? You know, there's a lot of discussion about branding in our industry, and there's a lot of lofty talk, a lot of lofty goals about what's your brand, your mission, what's your brand purpose, what's your brand story. Frankly, a lot of that is nonsense. I mean, that is such a lofty goal that, I mean, you're not going to achieve that for the most part. Most companies are never going to have their community understand their brand purpose. I mean, the best you can hope for is they recognize your name, and that's a win.
The best you can hope for is your employees remember your brand purpose.
Right. Brand purpose and values are that's important internally, like we talked about this morning, but really you're just trying to get name recognition. You're trying to swing the odds in your favor just ever so slightly when they are in the market. When they are at the bottom of the funnel, they click an ad or they see some, and they go, oh, I've heard of these guys. They're the ones with the billboards. They must be a big company, therefore I trust them. So that's why the bottom of the funnel stuff really starts to work better with the branding.
Right.
Yeah, this is a very long play here. So the studies have shown you're not going to even start to notice the effects of your branding for 18 months to 24 months. So if you think you're going to run a billboard campaign or a radio campaign or a TV campaign and see instant results, it's an 18-month commitment. And again, it's a mistake a lot of businesses make. They don't either have the resources or the commitment to make an 18-month commitment to a radio program because it's expensive and they're looking for a return very quickly, and it's not going to happen. So that brand you're in for the long haul. It's like a retirement plan.
Right.
It's like you invest in it every month, and eventually it starts to pay dividends, and when it starts to pay dividends, it starts to pay huge dividends. So it's a big commitment, it's a long-term commitment for long-term gain. If you're a small HVAC company in Metro Toronto or Metro Chicago, well, you're not going to run a TV ad on the evening news for North Chicago, South, no, you start small, start in your community. Maybe you do some bus benches and some team sponsorships or some in your community, and then once you build your business, you expand.
Build it up.
So, and the way your brand equity starts to show itself in the business is obviously better click-through rates, better conversion rates at the bottom of the funnel. But where it really starts to show up, and the studies show this as well, is that for every dollar you start to spend on activation bottom of the funnel stuff, the returns start to get like incrementally better. So a business with a really big brand, a really strong brand, for every dollar they spend on marketing, they generally get like $4 back. When you're small and don't have that brand presence, it's like 1 for 1, you might get 1. So it's a struggle. It's a struggle to be a small brand. So it's a long-term play. So the 3 big buckets, of course, are branding. So branding's a big one, 50-60% of your budget. Then is your activation, your sort of bottom of the funnel type thing. And then, of course, the last one is your database marketing or lifetime value marketing. Like once you've got a client, you know, trying to get that the maximum right. So those are the three big buckets.
So you would say 30 on lead gen?
Probably more. Probably,
40.
yeah. Because the
bottom is free. You're not paying.
Exactly. With the technology today, with email marketing and audience building that you can do with your own database, it's so inexpensive, and you don't have to spend a lot of budget there.
And also do a good job, and that's your return marketing, really.
We should talk a little bit about the importance of new customer versus existing customer, because again, there's a lot of talk in the industry and in just about every business for that matter about getting, utilizing your database more, because it's less expensive to market to the customers you already have than to a new customer.
That low-hanging fruit.
The low-hanging fruit. There's a problem with that in this industry.
Specifically this
Yes,
industry.
because a new customer that's never done business with you before is a lot more valuable than an existing customer. They spend more money as a new customer in that first year, or really in that first visit, that first time you do business with them, than your existing customers will. So you might have this huge database that you can market to almost for free or very inexpensively, and you think that's a good strategy, but they just don't generally. They just don't spend as much money with you.
But explain the customer journey and why that is, the alpha chart. Explain.
Well, when you study the database, right, the lifetime value of a non-member customer is about $2,600. Well, when they spend most of that in the first year, really the first time you do business with them, right? After that, year 2, year 3, year 4, they just don't spend a lot of money. So even though they're easy to market to, and it's low-hanging fruit, there's just not a lot of money there. They'll do a tune-up, or they don't spend as much money. I mean, obviously the best new customer is somebody that is asking for a quote.
Yeah.
They want to buy some equipment straight away. Well, that's obviously the best. The next best is a repair, because now they've obviously got an older equipment that's starting to give them some problems. You go in, you do the repair, you go, okay, well, it might not be in your best interest to do the repair. Maybe we should talk about a replacement. And that's why that new customer is so valuable. You've already had that chance with the customer that's sitting in your database. And of course, there's opportunity, replacement opportunity there. But the best opportunity you're going to get with that client is the first time you do business with them, right? Because they're in a situation where they need help. So just to finish out the branding, so it's long-term, 18 months, 24 months before you're going to see any kind of a payback. Of course, it starts to make the rest of the funnel work better. The other things, generally speaking, large companies that have a large branding presence actually spend less money on their marketing as a total. So,
Let's do some math on that.
a lot of smaller businesses go, I just don't understand how they spend so much money on branding, they spend so much money on marketing, but the fact of the matter is they're probably spending less than the smaller, as a percentage. Yeah.
Yeah.
And people are shocked with that. And the reason is because as you build that brand out, every dollar you spend gets so much of a bigger return than the guy that's small. So you can get away with spending less money because you're bigger. If they're really small, they're just, yeah, like you're down to guerrilla marketing tactics, right?
Hustle marketing, free tactics.
So then you might have to do a little bit more bottom of the funnel stuff, because that's where you can have an actual influence. You can do some TikTok videos. You can, that because it's inexpensive. But that's sort of guerrilla marketing stuff. But once you start to have a marketing budget, you have to start investing in branding. Even if it's small, like we talked about. Even if it's your neighborhood, your community, right? Just own some part of your market with branding. Even though I'm saying it should be 50, 60%, in my mind, I think 60% is the right. We're not there. We're not quite there. We're still overspending on the bottom of the funnel activation stuff, but we're getting better. We're getting better. I think the biggest thing that has kind of come, that I've learned recently, is this share of voice concept. How much is the industry spending as a whole? All of your competition together, if you pooled everything into one bucket. If it's $10 million in your market and you're spending $500,000 a year, you've got 5% share of voice. You should have roughly 5% market share. If you want to get to 10% market share, you're going to have to overspend for a while. You're going to have to overspend for your budget to drown out some of your competition to gain market share. If you're going to overspend share of voice, if you're going to go out there and start drowning out your competition and you're going to start, spending more money, it's only going to work if your operations can handle it. Otherwise, it's going to throw your metrics off, and it's going to, spending money for share of voice for the sake of spending money isn't going to get you anywhere. You have to capture the market. Well, it's very difficult to gauge share of voice. It's a concept. I mean, there are industries where they track that sort of thing. Like I'm sure like the soft drink market, for example, probably has a number surrounding share of voice. I have no idea what the total spend would be in our market, but you have to, it's a concept. So if you want to grow your market share, you're going to have to overspend share of voice. So whatever your marketing budget is, 60% of that should go to branding. Next year, 60%. Next year, 60%. And if that's overspending share of voice, you're going to grow your market share, which obviously we've done for a very long time. We've been overspending share of voice. When you're talking about branding, big picture, top of the funnel stuff, the minute you start to segment your audience and start to think about targeting and all of that, there's no return there. You're talking to everyone. When we're doing our bus benches or when you're doing a TV ad, you're talking to everyone in the market. Everyone is your target audience, right? And that's the way it should be. Where you want to start targeting, where you want to start segmenting, where you want to start drilling down into your audience is when you start to get to the bottom of the funnel. But your branding, you want to talk to everybody in the market, which is every homeowner, it's everyone, and not overthink that. Yeah. You're talking to everyone who's in the market, and then as you go down the funnel, you start to segment your audience and start to target a little more.
So you shouldn't be too tied to any one medium at all.
Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. I just think in general, there's too much focus on that. I mean, there's 12 different social media platforms right now. Which one should you be on? All of them, or some of them, or one of them, any of them. I mean, I had an old radio rep tell me years and years ago, because I was obsessed with this notion of which is the best radio ad or which is the best radio station. Who do our customers listen to? What time do they listen to? Should we be on the sports? Should we be on the news? And this old radio rep told me one time, I said, what radio station should we be on? And he looked at me, he went, any of them. Any of them. Because you're just talking to if you're a customer and you don't listen to that radio station, maybe your daughter or your sister or your brother does, or your kid or your neighbor. Which radio station should you be on? Any of them. Any of them. Which TV station should you be on? Any of them. Which branding place should you be on? Any of them. Just get out there and start doing some branding would be the advice I'd give people. How important is the creative?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question. I mean, can you get good creative produced cheaply, or do you have to spend a ton of money? I think on video is where you can really start to spend some money. But is good creative more expensive than bad creative? I don't know. Like, right? What type of creative should you have? Well, this, again, doing a lot of research lately on this very subject, I always thought, just get your name out there. Just as long as you're there, your brand, your logo, your colors, your unique.
Your truck and everything.
Yes. What the studies are showing now is, and this surprised me, is the most effective ads, especially video ads, are something that is emotional, something that stirs emotion with an emotional connection to the customer has a longer effect. They remember the ad longer. Here's an analogy I like to make about branding, okay? Imagine this. You're driving somewhere for a family reunion with your family. You've got your 2 kids in the back, right? And you're late for this family reunion and you're driving through this town that you've never been to before, and you got to feed your kids. And you've got 40 minutes to feed them. And you go through the food mall where there's every single restaurant you've ever could imagine. And there's Joe's Hamburgers and Pete's Hamburgers and Willie's Hamburgers, and there's McDonald's. Where are you taking your family to? You're taking them to McDonald's because you don't want to run the risk of trying something that you've never heard of. You've never, maybe they have better burgers, maybe they have,
Maybe it's
but
better
I
somewhere
don't
else.
care.
It's
I'm
safe.
going with the trusted brand.
Yeah.
And that's what branding does. It builds that instant trust. I can trust these guys. They're everywhere. They've been around for a long time. I'm willing to pay a little bit more money. And that's the goal of branding. That's it.
And you're not going to be surprised, right?
You're not going to be surprised.
We tell you
Yep.
what we're doing, and we go and do it.
Pretty sure that if Action Furnace screws up, they're going to be there to help me. They probably have a service team. And that's all your branding is meant to do. It's not meant to give your brand purpose and your brand story and your higher calling in life. It's build that trust, get that, increase the odds that you get that call, and that's it. So that's a lot about branding there, and there's obviously a lot more to have, but that's the essence of branding. Is you're just increasing the odds ever so slightly of that person doing business with you and building that trust pre-purchase, and it's game over. So don't overthink it. If you're talking about a general overall spend on your income statement, what percentage of your of expenditure should you be spending on marketing? Depends how aggressively you want to grow. Again, now we're back to that share of voice conversation. If you're at a 5% market share, you're spending 5% on share of voice, and you're happy and you don't want to have further growth, then whatever you're spending right now is probably where you should be. And you can probably maintain your sales at an even right where you are at probably 5, 6, 7%. If you want to grow market share and you're at 5, 6, 7% of your budget, obviously you're going to have to increase that. How much? And that's up to you. How much do you want to save for your retirement? Should I put away $100 a month or $200 a month or $500 a month? Well, how soon do you want to retire? How rich do you want to be when you retire?
How much are you able to invest back into your business?
The more you spend on marketing as a percentage of your business, the faster you're going to grow. It's that simple. If you're small, you got to spend every dollar you have to grow, and we did, and most companies do.
And
so 7, 8%.
You were at 17%. You were okay
Yeah,
with.
and we were growing, and we were okay with that, because we were willing to spend the money to grow our business. Rather than take it out and buy boats and. Well, no, we wanted to grow our business, so we were prepared to spend money on marketing. And ask your financial advisor, how much should I be putting away every month? What are they going to tell you? As much as you can.
Yeah.
Right? Let's get a plan. You want to retire at 65, 55, 45? So do we want to talk about customer lifetime value? So how much are we willing to spend to get a new client?
Yeah.
Okay. So 10%. Of $2,700 is $270. We've already blown 60% on branding, so we've got 40% left to spend on the bottom of the funnel conversion. If that's the case, a simple observation, you're never going to spend more than that for a customer. But let's talk about ProfitFill and filling your schedule and capacity, because that plays into it. So let's take an example just to illustrate this. You've got 4 jobs left on your schedule to fill tomorrow, right? And we need to fill those jobs. And you're only going to spend $420 for those jobs, say, okay?
4 times 108.
Right. But think about how profitable those 4 jobs really are. Because in your business, any business, you have a break-even point, right? Once you hit your break-even point, your bills are covered, your overhead is covered. Every job after that becomes marginally more and more profitable, right? Just like once you've covered your overhead in a restaurant, every meal after that, you're not making 30%, you're making 70% or whatever. Same in our business. So now let's take those same jobs. They're $1,300 jobs. And let's say you've got a 50 or 60% profit margin in those jobs. We've got 4 jobs tomorrow. So if we fill those jobs, we're basically going to make, so what is that?
800.
We're going to make 4 times 1,300 is what? For $5,200. And let's say, because we've already covered our overhead, there's 70% margins in those jobs. So we have an opportunity to make $4,000 in gross profit, right?
Right.
But if you follow your little rule, you're only, the minute we get over 101, no, we don't want that job. Really? You don't want a job that you're going to make $700 in gross profit on? Because you might have to, so you have to be careful. Big picture, you want to try and keep that budget to, your 10% or whatever it is. But on any given day, you might be prepared to spend $200 for that job or $300 for that job.
Yeah.
And that's where schedule utilization is so important. To get those last few jobs on your schedule are the most profitable jobs you're going to do that day.
Yeah.
Right?
Even if you're
That
spending
last,
double the cost to get
even
them.
if you're spending twice as much to get that last call of the day, it's so profitable that it doesn't matter. Yeah, so let's bring this around and tie it into our business. So the point of all of this conversation was to just how critical schedule management, schedule fulfillment is. It's everything in this business. If you've got too many jobs and you're booked out too far, you're wasting money, you're giving a bad customer experience, that's no good. What's even worse is if your guys are sitting around and you don't have enough calls for them. So if you can actually get your schedule to match your call volume, to match your marketing dollars, you win. That's what ProfitFill is. That's why we spent so much time and so much money building this software, is because it's so important. We don't want to spend any more money than we have to fill our schedule, but we have to fill our schedule. The profitability of your business in the home service business is a direct correlation to how well you manage your schedule. If you can keep your schedule full and you're spending you're only spending X number of dollars to do that, that's the sweet spot of profitability. And that's why keeping your schedule full is so critically important.